Hey, welcome back to YOML, a year of magical learning. Today we are in part 3 of 5 of one of our top favorite book, the book called Humankind by Rutger Bregman. Chris is exciting to talk to you about a topic that he's dear to his heart. So I'll let Chris tell you about it.
Yeah, reflection 3 of 5. As I had mentioned at the beginning of this one, this is one of the first books that I let myself kind of just break the rules a little bit and, kind of came out of left field. And I was like, this is just a really great book. So I'm going to absorb the moment and just write my feelings and thoughts about, what it made me think about. A quick recap of the book. It's called Humankind, A Hopeful History. It's about looking at humans as the core of us as kind, loving, compassionate, caring people versus the narrative that's usually out there in the world of humans being dog eat dog, survival of the fittest, like we'll kill each other. When you strip away society, what are we left with? Is it kindness or is it anger, mean, pain, whatever? And this is a helpful history. So that's what the book's about. And this particular reflection I titled as Carrots and Sticks. The carrot and stick methodology will never work long term. Try the human approach. So this is a near and dear topic to my heart. So here's what I mean by the carrot and stick method will never work long term. My entire career, I've worked in various sales, account management, sales leadership roles, and that entire world is 100% performance based. It is a culture of carrots and sticks. You either do great work and you get paraded around as a top producer and everybody wants to talk to you and your leadership loves you and you get showered with money and trips and spiffs, dinners and awards, gift cards, whatever. Like the rewards are always going to be there in this particular culture. And that is how we determine who is the best. It's whoever is getting the most awards, winning the most carrots. If you suck, you get fired. It's basically that. That's the stick end of it, right? It's either you're succeeding and thriving and winning awards or you're slowly moving your way out the door and getting fired. That's the stick, right? So my personal career has been based off of that. That is the only environment that I have ever seen work in the sales world. And honestly, I'm getting ready to start my new job as a sales leader at a new organization. So this is a really timely topic. That is, to my knowledge, the classic sales model in this world. And the reason being is like those carrots and sticks will give you short-term bursts. That is proven. And short-term bursts are what people care about. The growth, you got to feed the growth monster at these businesses. The investors want their return. So therefore, people constantly are getting either cracked a whip with a stick or they're getting rewarded with a carrot as we continue to take short little bursts and spurts of hitting whatever that quarterly goal is, that monthly goal, that annual goal, so we can continue to feed that growth monster and the cycle continues over and over again. But here's the thing. I can definitively say this without a doubt. I have never, ever, not once, not ever in my entire professional sales career worked harder because of the compensation that I was going to get, or because of a spiff that was out there, or because of a trip or a reward or a gift card or something along those lines. That was supposed to be incentivizing me to want to work harder and do my job better. I can definitively say that that is never factored into my mindset whenever I've been performing at my job in my entire career. Trust me, I've won a lot of awards and I've been the top producer. I've gone on many annual trips and things like that. And it's all nice. I enjoy it. But that has never been the reason as to why I worked hard or didn't work hard in that particular role, job, quarter, month, whatever it was. One of the things that I will work my ass off for and will work harder for every single day is waking up 2 hours before I even start to work to go write a reflection so I can go post it on a blog, so I can go talk to my co-founder about it after work, so I can go pay for tennis tournaments and go travel myself. I looked at my Audible account the other day. I'll look at it right now. What do you think my total listening time is since this whole journey began? Like, what do you think that whole, because I didn't even have an Audible account until,
So you talking about like
total amount of time.
Like total book hours or listening hours?
Listening hours.
Okay. If you say that's 2 years, right?
It's like 2.5. I mean,
Two and a
almost
half
3
years,
now.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
2 years in from April to now. It's like it's 2.5 years, right? 300 hours?
Oh, no, that's not even close. Like try like 6x of that. I'm at 1 month, 29 days, 15 hours, and 52 minutes on my Audible account. So I don't know how many hours are in a month. I'm almost at 2 months, basically.
Okay. Okay.
So that is
yeah,
730 hours.
Yes.
So it's roughly, let's just say 1,500 hours of Audible listening plus manual reading of regular books. Plus,
Mhm.
I use this other platform called what
Scribble.
was it called? Yeah, Scribble. I use that for like maybe 20 books or something like that.
Mm.
So add it all up, it's probably like 1,800 hours or something like
Right,
that,
right.
right? And that's nobody's paid me for that.
That's a full-time year, full-time working.
Exactly. No, I mean, it really is. I mean, and I do it because I want to do it, because I'm intrinsically motivated by my
And
purpose,
you're
values, mission.
paying
I'm paying
to
for it.
get the
Yes, I'm
book.
paying. I paid to publish my first book. I paid to have it edited, and I paid to have one of my rules these days. Actually, I haven't officially written a reflection about it yet, but I'm about to. Is I used to always struggle sometimes of when to make big purchases and when to not make big purchases.
Mm.
And now today, I feel like this is a good golden rule to live by when it comes to what I spend my money on. If it in any way, shape, or form aligns to my values, things that I care about, my mission or my purpose, I don't give a shit what it costs me to go spend money on. I really don't, because it'll be an investment well worth my time. Like case in point, that tennis ball machine that I bought, that I pondered over for years. I finally made the decision to go buy it a couple of weeks ago, and I've used it like 2 to 3 times a week, and had a fucking blast out there. Like, I mean, and it's amazing. I'm really enjoying it, and it gets me out on the courts when I don't have a match to go play, and I can go do stuff that I care about. Anyway, so it's well worth the investment. So long story short, yes, not only do I invest so much more time and effort, I pay for these things. Someday it may turn into revenue coming back to me, but I don't care, like, because that's not what the point is. The overall moral of this particular reflection is, carrots and sticks will never work long term. It will never work. The author said something that's a great quote that I loved, was nothing is more powerful than a society of people doing things because they want to. Not only that's exactly what it is. That you might as well put that as our tagline, and drop that into our truism.
Yeah, because I have not read this book in its entirety, and I just started it. You didn't read this book until we started the club.
Mhm.
We started the club way, way back. So, but this is exactly what we're trying to build, a society where people are doing things because they want to. This is exactly what clubbing is all about. I guess
That's why I wrote 5 reflections for it. I was like, man, this just fits exactly what I wanted to do, and I learned so much from it.
Yeah.
So the second part of this reflection, though, is not only do I do these things without any carrots or sticks, and I will spend my own money, if you take that just intrinsic motivation, and then you pair it with somebody else, and then somebody else, and then somebody else has a similar purpose and meaning, that meaningful work that they like to do, and you can build meaningful relationships out of it, the results are explosive, right? Like, I mean, when you and I are doing something, like, you look at the totality of all the stuff that we've done together, and you're like, I mean, how many hours of recordings and mentor stuff, and we're at a reflection 131 of a podcast to record. You think of all the amount of conversations and L10 meetings we've had, and ideas that we've gone through, and
the beauty of it is that I don't count them, right? And it's like, we're at 131 just because you told me, because I wouldn't remember. I would say, hey, we only maybe 20. If you ask me how many hours of Audible, I would say, hey, maybe about 100. But I'd probably be like maybe half of your 1,800. Because the thing is, a lot of these things is because we don't count them, and because we don't mind doing this thing, we don't keep score. And we don't keep score, the numbers, the result that comes back is astounding.
It's unreal. I'm blown away. I look at that number every once in a while. Every once in a while, just check listening time on Audible. Jesus Christ, it's almost 2 months of my life. And we're not talking about like, oh, I worked for 2 months. No, this is like 24 hours, start to finish, 2 months. This is straight time of 2 months. I mean, that might be, like you said, 2 years of full-time work or something like that for some other people. And it probably is. I mean, to be fair, like I told you the other day, I'm ashamed of this, but it's been almost 2.5 months since I've done a damn thing for any employer of mine, because I've been transitioning out of my old job and getting ready to start this new job. And I mean, like, if you want to count up the total amount of time that I've worked, in my actual job, I bet it's like 80 hours in like the past 2.5 months, maybe if I did a stopwatch clock on when I started working and when I stopped working on these things. Yeah. I mean, that shit'll blow your mind when you go, oh shit, for your real job that you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, you've worked for 30 hours, and your stuff that you don't get paid anything for, you've
spent way more. I mean, it's the 80-20% rule. I mean, the thing is, people get paid a lot of money, and I know the salary that you make, you in the top, like top 5-10% of the other earners. And even then, you don't like that job because the carrots is not enough. It's never enough.
It's never.
When we talk about a person was so stressed out and really get angry and mad because he makes $1 million. The reason why he's mad because his neighbor make 1.1 mil. right? So the thing is the carrots and the sticks, it doesn't work beyond
Long term.
the initial push.
Right.
That's it. It
Right.
only say, well, I just need this one thing. And the moment you get that, you start to fade, just like, the happiness hypothesis. It
Yep.
detail out, when you win something, right? You get adjusted to the level. You need more. Just like when people are addicted to cocaine or heroin. At first, one dose is not enough. You have to
Right.
do double dose and quadruple dose and 8 times and 16 times. But that's
Yep.
the thing is the carrot. And the carrot, they only give you like one, whatever carrot they give you. The first time, yeah, it feels great. But the second time, you give the same number of carrots, it doesn't feel so great. And
It doesn't
so
matter.
it's a spiral down. And
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna and it gets to a point where in our society today, and this is one of the big, I guess one of the big challenge that company is trying to elucidate is that because people are used to the carrots and sticks, that doesn't work. And because it doesn't work, we see that a lot of people, majority of people, they work in a job that they hate. They don't like their job. They hate their jobs. I mean, they hate it.
I
It's
hate
not like, oh, it's
it.
okay.
I'm miserable when I wake
Yeah,
up every
most
day
are
and
miserable and stressed
right.
out. And the
Right.
thing is, I mean, you look at, so it's not about like how much money someone makes. 'Cause, as an investment banker, you can make 200K. As a venture capitalist, analyst, whatever, you can make like $500,000, but it's so stressful. And these
Sure.
guys only can do a number of years before they either burn out or quit, just because it's not sustainable.
Yep. Oh
It's
yeah.
not something that they can have a internal drive that goes to do the work because they want to. It has to have something pushing them. The longer the push, the more power you need to have behind it to keep the same momentum, because it's always gonna get heavier and heavier, and then eventually it doesn't move at all. And so you're not motivated as time goes on. And the carrots and sticks for me is only an initial push that lasts short term, very short. I mean, I'm talking
So
about very, very short. A lot of people like they start hating their job after 6 months.
oh, for sure. So I'll give you a great example. The first job that I had out of school, I was in a management development program at this company called Dexter Axle. I had to move to Northern Indiana. So I moved like 3 hours away from my family and from friends to a place I'd never really been before. It was like a rotational job where I would spend 10 weeks in each functional area of the business, shadowing the VPs and directors of whatever the department is, whether there was quality assurance or frontline management on the plant level or sales and marketing or engineering or whatever it may be, procurement. I would spend 10 weeks in each of these areas and I would do these continual improvement projects like Six Sigma projects and stuff like that. So I would go in as fresh eyes. My job was to learn, absorb, do projects for the leaders of these departments, and then pick one project after a couple of weeks that I wanted to spend the next like 2 months on to try to make an impact of an area that I felt. And then my job at the end of all that, every 10 weeks was to go present to the executive team what I did, what we found, and then move on to the next rotation, right? So it was a really fun job. I loved it. I got to experience all these new things. I was learning all the time. I was doing projects that were just from my own creativity. I installed a call center back in 2007, 2008, before VoIP and a lot of those other technologies. I installed a digital call center that I developed the entire workflow. I figured out what time savings was, went through pilot projects, installed the software, managed it remotely with this company in Canada, and completely transformed. It was amazing. This one lady, I forget her name, but they had this order entry department at one of these plants. She had never taken a lunch break in her, like she'd worked there for 20 years. They were so busy fielding phone calls and faxes all day long and orders coming in from all over the place. They were chained to their keyboard, but answering the call from some other supplier that needed something like all day long. Literally, this place was like a zoo. There was papers everywhere, faxes coming in all over the place. After I got done with this whole entire thing, these calls kept coming in, and the front desk secretary was just like, "Oh yeah, this person's lights off. I'm just going to throw it on, throw it on." So that was when I got the idea to try to install a call center. I presented this to the executive team, and then for the next 8 weeks, they let me go do it. And by the end of the whole rotation, I even got in on the job with them, and I was doing it myself. And this lady said the nicest thing ever to me. She goes, "Chris, I'm not even joking. Like, I was a little hesitant to this whole entire idea at first, but she was like, this is the first time I've taken a lunch break, a full hour lunch break, where like I could actually just go take a lunch. They couldn't even go to the bathroom. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, they could not even leave their desk to go to the bathroom, or they would miss like 3 phone calls. And it was unreal. I was making shit money. I think my salary was like 35,000 or something like that. I think I had like some bonus opportunities where I could make like 42 or something. It was my first role. I was having a blast doing this stuff. I was learning every day. I was helping people. I was growing. I was seeing things completely differently. And I was able to use my creativity all over the place. Next job that I ended up taking is I ended up moving back to Indy. And this is at the height of the economic downturn. A friend of mine worked at this place called Angie's List. My dad's a sales engineer. My mom's a purchasing director. And so I grew up in a household where this was natural to me. I've always been in sales. I always had the idea of that used car salesman kind of a thing going on. Well, this is at the height of the economic downturn. Wanted to move back home. Nobody was hiring in the manufacturing world. And a friend of mine was one of my best friends, worked at this place called Angie's List. And I was like, what the fuck is Angie's List? I was like, is that like Craigslist? I don't want to go work at a fucking Craigslist. Remember, this is like 2007. This is before like, I know that doesn't seem that long ago, but it was in terms of like the digital, like everything wasn't digital then, right? So I'm like, what the fuck is Angie's List? So he's like, just check it out. It was one of the only places that were growing and hiring at that time and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, fine, I'll go check it out. So I interviewed there. I ended up getting an opportunity to take over an account management role where I was managing the book of $2 million of an advertising portfolio. And I was immediately successful at it. Within the first quarter, I won, like I was in the top 10%, won like quarterly trips and whatever. I ended up that first year going on the annual trip to, I think we went to Puerto Rico or something like that for like the top 10%, like, sales earners. Anyway, I'd found a role that I loved. The company was great. And here's the kicker. I made almost like $120,000 that year. So I'm like 23, 24 years old or whatever it was. And I went from making $37,000 to making like $120,000 that year. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, man, this is fucking amazing. I was like, this is great. So the next couple of years, I still made even more money. Then I took over a sales team and I made a little bit more and I made a little bit more. By the end of the time that I was there, I was making well over 150 to 175 or something like that. I was still in my late 20s and I'm like living in everybody's life. They would think that I was living the dream. I was a top producer, running my own sales team, and I was miserable, like beyond miserable. The money meant nothing to me. Literally, I was like, get this fucking shit out of my life. I didn't want it. I got married. I bought my first home. We bought some cars, but none of it made me happy. I was so fucking miserable, like that I was having panic attacks. And I literally could not even get out of it. I remember calling my grandmother one day and I was like, Grandma, I don't know what to do. I'm so sad right now. And it's not because I'm sad outside of work. It's like every day that I have to walk into that office again, something just feels like it's dying inside of me. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And she gave me this like long story about her life when she was younger and she had a similar thing. She was like, you know what? I went home one day and I told my grandfather the same thing. And she was like, I can't go back to this place again. He was like, just quit. It's fine. And she's like, really? She's like, we need the money. He's like, no, just quit. And she was like, oh my God, thank God. And so she just quit and it changed her life. Actually, nothing. I won all the awards. I had all the carrots you could possibly get at this particular job. I had maxed out my carrots. And like, even if you gave me double the amount of money, I don't think I could have stayed there. I was so miserable that it was starting to affect my home life. I would come home every night. I would just zone out, stare at the screen, and just wish that I didn't have to get up the next day, but to go to do the same thing over and over and over again. It was fucking sad. And I feel sad even talking about this because it's like on the outside, you would think this kid's 28 years old making $175,000 a year. And you're like, he owns his own home, runs his own sales team. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It was awful.
He got a boatload of carrots and he still have a panic attack. I mean, that's strange, right? But that's the thing. It happens to almost everybody. You were happy the first time you got the check. The second time, not so much. Same thing if you buy a very, very expensive car, like Tesla, Ferrari, Lamborghini, whatever. Oh, wow. It was so exciting first time. Second time, and then that car gonna sit in the garage. That's all. Let's say I'm gonna get a dog, right? The dog can cost me a boatload of money, but it's like it cost me like money with the vets, the bill, the food,
So
the
expensive.
vaccine, and you name it, all sort of. But it cost me a boatload of money. Not giving me boatload of carrots, but I have to give people a boatload of carrots. And even then, I would rather pick the dog than some kind of a job that I don't want to, because I want the dog. I don't want to do the thing I don't want to do. So you make a great
Homo
point.
puppy.
It's like it's the thing that you don't want to do. There is nothing that can compensate for you trying to give away that calling to do something else. The essence of you, you're not being you. For people to say, hey, I'll pay you $1 million for you to be someone else, not you, right? You cannot do that long term. You can probably do that, short term, but nothing worth more than you being you. No
1,000%.
one is better at being you than you. And like I say, somebody can pay you $1 billion, but even then, it don't last for a short term. It doesn't last forever. It just doesn't, because
Nope.
that essence of you, it is so valuable and so heavy that on a scale, it's going to be lopsided, because whatever you put on it, it's not going to be enough to tilt that scale up.
Right. Yep.
Like
I mean, it
it's like one of those compact mass of a giant galaxy packed into a little crystal ball, like in Men in Black, the Orion's belt, the
oh yeah,
galaxies.
yeah.
That much stuff is in that essence,
Right.
versus anything else, any kind of amount of money, any kind of amount of carrots can put on a counterweight of that balance.
100%. I mean, it reminds me of Andre Agassi's story, right? When he gets his whole life, he never really loved tennis, but he was like, you know what, if I'm going to play tennis, I want to be world's number one. That was his main goal. And the day that he won, I think he said he won the French Open or something like that, his first major that he ended up, getting the number one overall ranking in the world at the end of the year. And he was walking around Paris, and and he was like, this is it. This is what I worked so hard. Like, this is miserable. This is nothing. Like, I mean, it was right. Because he was playing for carrots, and then when he realized, like, these carrots don't matter.
The carrot
to anybody,
wasn't on that.
like, and then he went on this downward spiral of like, like, there's so many people. You see this happen with Olympians all the time. They set this insane goal, like, I'm going to work 8 years of my life and grind away every single morning for that one chance to win that one gold medal. And then when I win that gold medal, then they're like,
what's next is just like the realizations that what you had envisioned you will get, and how happy you are wasn't connecting.
oh,
Because
it's not even
when you
close.
standing on the podium and you get the gold medal, it's like, well, it's less than what I expected.
Right.
And it's always short of what you had envisioned. You work hard because you were envisioning something grand, and when you achieve it, it's like, well, not much. It basically drove you into this depression mode. And
Yeah.
then the what's next is like, oh shit, I spent my whole entire life doing this. I know nothing else. So what's
Right.
next for me is like, it's question marks. So you get even more depressed because the realization of whatever you achieved wasn't what you expected. And now you had become more of a buyer's remorse, where you say, well, I spent so much time doing this for the last almost a decade, or more than a decade, to some people, that they cannot do anything else. Like, okay, I can't sell because all these things has changed. I can't do computer programming because the language I knew was dead and obsolete, or I can't do whatever because I have no idea how things complete everything's changed. And so
Right.
that, if you were in somebody else in that person's shoes, how do you feel? Completely depressed. You are
Devastated. Yeah.
completely lost,
Right.
right? Not only that you did not get the euphoria that you had hoped for. It's just like this. It's like, what was it? You know how the anticipation that's to
Right.
give you the most gratifying feeling. Let's say I'm waiting for a hamburger. Like, say I'll go to McDonald's. It smells so good. I was in line, and the anticipation of getting the hamburger, the Big Mac, right? It is so good and so salivating. And then the moment you bite into it, yeah,
That's gross.
that's a feeling.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And it happens in other things too, whether that's a some kind of a prize you win at a carnival or whatever. It gets to that point where the anticipation was much higher than what I actually felt when I bite into that Big Mac. And so for these people, it's like the anticipation of getting from second to first, that moment, that spit moment. It's like, hey, I got it. But the moment you got the gold medal, it's like
Yeah.
you see all those Olympians when they are on this podium. How did they feel?
Some of them look genuinely excited right afterwards. Some of them do. But even that feeling fades within like 2 to 3 days.
Be fair, it's better than depressed, but it's
Right.
not like the most elated point in their career. The most elated point in the time was the moment they got,
Training.
say, you have the highest score. They were like crying and
Right.
jumping and emotional. You can tell right then, right there, that's the moment that they waited for. But the moment they got the gold medal, Oh, okay.
Over.
The anticipation right up to the last moment is the highest euphoria you get.
Right.
But after that, it's like the disappointment and downhill. I mean, it's still higher than zero, but it's
Right.
less than what you expected, less than what you had imagined you would get. And so
I'm
that
with you
and
100%.
that
Yeah.
basically gives you a downward kind of like
Oh yeah. It's all downhill from there for the most part. I mean,
is
like,
when we go down here, it takes the momentum.
right.
The momentum carries you down, and everything you do is continue to go down. It's harder for you to buck the down momentum. So
Right.
you need something very, very forceful to even buck that kind of trend. Because even if you give him a gold medal, or if you give him an endorsement, it's like nothing. Like he doesn't feel happier than he was like when he had a Big Mac. Let's say
Right.
Michael Phelps.
Right.
Like, okay, you won the model. I'm gonna give you endorsement. I'm gonna give you $1 million. You can be whatever you want. I say, okay, yeah,
Right.
shoes, okay, yeah. Like
Right.
it's not the euphoria that they want.
Right.
They get these endorsements. They get the watches endorsement. They get the jewelry endorsement. They get the shoe endorsement. They get the clothing endorsement.
Right.
This is what they had hoped for, but the moment they signed, it wasn't as good.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, it's good. It's better than nothing. Better than what they when no one has anything.
Right.
But it's not the same expectation. And because of the differences, it is easy for this Olympian to go down to a depression,
For
right?
sure.
Because he has to do something different to compensate for that depression downward.
Well, their identity is wrapped up in the outcome, right? Like, I mean, it's like I remember there was this. I won't name names on this one just because it's kind of a sensitive topic. But there was this lady that used to be, I forget what her role was, maybe like VP of account management or VP of
Mm,
sales or something like that at Angie's List, and she was a pretty high ranking person. A lot of people. She was an important person there. I mean, she'd been there a
right.
really long time. She, had done a lot of great work, and she was an important part of that culture. She was somebody that mattered at Angie's List, right?
Hmm.
And one day that all came to an end. She got let go of her job, and then last that I heard, I've heard this from multiple people. She's been a struggling alcoholic ever since then, and they've gone and have conversations with her multiple times,
Hmm.
and she was just like, this is secondhand through friends of mine telling me when they would go talk to her and stuff like that. She was like, I just don't know how to get back to the person that I was, like meaning like the person that everybody knew, the leader, you know what I
Right.
mean? That identity, that job, that title, that role, the money
Right.
you made, whatever. The outcomes were what mattered to her. And
Of
now,
contrast, right? It's that she achieved something great, and now she was no longer that person. So the only way for her to go is down, unless she can find something better and more forcefully to compensate for that downward spiral.
that's what a purpose is for. Like the Andre Agassi scenario is the same thing, where he hit this downward spiral, and then thank God he eventually found a purpose and leveled himself out and then continued to win. But now when he won, it was like, I'm winning for this. I'm not winning for me. I don't care. You could shower me with money, shower me with trophies, whatever. Like, I don't care. I'm doing this for this now.
Right.
I have a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm aligned with that. That's when it becomes meaningful work, right? Like that's when he chose it
And that's the
versus
thing is, the meaningful work is like the fire that doesn't diminishes.
no.
But
I mean,
the
look at
carrot,
us.
it diminishes so quickly. It's like
Oh yeah,
exponential diminishing curve.
a
You
hundred
know,
percent. Like I mean, I find it hilarious that you and I have been co-founders, for 2.5 years now on this project, or two plus years, however long it's been, and we haven't produced a single dime. As a matter of fact, we've spent money,
we
a lot
spend
of money.
money.
Yeah, right, right. Like, and yet we're still going at this stronger and harder than ever before. If you went to any investor and said, "Hey, give me 2.5 years and I'm going to spend a little bit of money, and I won't give you a single even drip of an idea yet of how we're going to make more money out of this whole entire collaboration," they would go, "What the fuck are you smoking? I'm not giving you shit." And I'm like, well, you don't understand. We're doing some really important stuff. We're doing some meaningful things that we're not going to quit. And they're like, well, I don't care. Why would anybody ever give us money? Now that I understand what we understand, I'd be like, oh shit, I'm giving those people money. I'm like, I don't care. That's a long-term investment. That's when you get your late bloomer status someday. People are like, oh, I didn't see that coming. You guys are 50 years old, and how'd you guys build that? Well, like, we've been doing this shit every single fucking day for 10 years. And like, this is just what ended up coming out of this. I find it hilarious that you and I have been working harder than I've ever worked on a project for anybody in my life, and we've produced $0. Like, zero, negative.
Negative. Yeah, we spend money.
Right.
Like I
So
said,
have you ever worked
I
harder on a
don't
project?
count the days. It just one day I just looking forward to have a conversation that is meaningful. It lifts your spirit because fits you. It fits your essence, right? When it
Yes,
fits your essence, I don't know what you call it though. It's not you
it's
can call it
effortless.
joy or it feels
Right.
whatever that feeling is. It feels right. When it feels right, you are at
Aligned.
peace with
Feels
yourself.
aligned.
Aligned, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
at peace with yourself, you don't worry about this. You don't think about
I don't care how many people watch this. I don't care how many people
right.
read this
You
and
don't
reflect.
exactly
I don't
right. So
care.
you are so at peace with yourself that nothing else matters, and you only need to enjoy the conversations and the company that you have with you, and that all that matters to you. And when you have that, you feel like that memory, it is memorable and it sinks in and it makes sense to you and you feel good for the rest of the day. There's certain conversation where you get into it and you get out of it pissed, or you get a
Right.
conversation, we get into it and you get out of it exhausted. We talked about the vibe yesterday, right? The docs can feel vibe
Right.
and the stroke of genius. We can feel vibe. The
Yeah. Yeah.
vibe, the negative
Energy.
vibe, will
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
create you this uneasiness, exhaustion. Because I've been to some meetings actually. When I get out of it, I'm exhausted
Right.
because it is. I mean, you can't say, well, maybe you talk too much or talk too. No, I talk. I even talk more in this conversation than in the other conversation. But
Right.
I feel energized when I get out of this conversation versus in the other one where I'm so exhausted I have to take a nap to
Right.
recover my energy. And there is also a certain meaning where you get agitated or you get really depressed or you get really angry. And so to me, there are certain feeling that you want and a certain feeling that you don't.
Right.
And if you align yourself to something that means something to you, that align with your essence, then the feeling you get is the feeling that to me feels good.
I don't know if "good's" the right word. It's
We're gonna stumble on
Well,
just
because
because
this goes to the eat the frog versus eat the cake, right? We're not saying you actually should eat cake. We're saying turn your frog into a cake, right? Like, but
uh-huh.
you're still doing frog activities, like we're still doing stuff that like is our quad two activities that
No,
are
it's just like, I have an acquired taste for a frog and I'm eating frog. I mean, you look
right,
at
and it
me,
tastes like cake.
I like the taste of the frog or whatever it is.
Frog
Like
cake.
people say, well, I don't like coffee. For me, I drink my coffee black. When people say, how can you drink it black? It's so bitter.
Yeah,
But
it is
that's how
gross.
I like it. I would prefer coffee, black coffee, like dark coffee, like the espresso in a
Ah,
mug. I drink them. And most people wouldn't like it, but I
yeah,
like it. To
right,
me, that's an analogy to eating a frog. I like eating that frog. For
right,
example, peppers. I love peppers. I eat like the spiciest pepper. Some people can't eat it. It just ruined their meal. It makes
yep.
my meal, right? And so the thing is, when you are affinity for something, right? It seems to other people that you're eating a frog,
Right.
but to you, you're eating a cake because that's what you want to eat. It's either carrot sticks or the thing that you want to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be cake. It could be frog. It could be Cheerios. It could be whatever. It could be,
Right.
broccolis or cauliflower or whatever it is. Like one of my daughter loves broccoli, right?
Right.
She just does. She just like broccoli. So to
Right.
her, broccoli is her
Cake.
dessert. But other people say, hey, I
Right.
want sugar or whatever. And so it's just dependent on what it is that you align to. When you align to the want to, it makes sense and whatever that feeling is,
I'll call it
fulfilling.
fulfilling. Yeah. You
Well,
you
but
feel
everyone has
yeah.
their own word, and
Right.
each word may trigger a different emotion, different image for themselves. So I don't want to give you the word. That's why I say for me, that feeling is like, hey, I prefer this feeling over the other feeling, right?
Right.
Do you want to be angry all the time? Do you want
No.
to be depressed all the time?
No.
Do you want to be agitated all the time? Do you want to be tired all the time?
Nope.
That's what I'm
Nope.
saying. Hey, do you want to be energized or you want to be exhausted? Most people want to be energized and not exhausted
Right.
because I hate being exhausted because it just
Sucks.
it's
It
exactly.
sucks.
But
I
why
mean,
does it suck? We know it sucks, but why
because
does
it's
it suck?
because you haven't. You're lethargic. You're slow.
But
You're
why? Because it's a bad feeling versus
right.
not wanting feeling and wanting feeling, right? The feeling you
Right.
want, the feeling you don't want. The
Yep.
feeling that I want is I don't want the lethargic, the exhaustion, the angry, the depressed, the sadness. I want the energized, the joy, the happy,
Right.
the
Aligned.
whatever you want to call it. But that's what I'm saying, the wanting feeling versus the not wanting feeling, the positive feeling versus the negative feelings, whatever you want to label them.
Bringing this whole thing full circle to the reflection, no one can do that but you. So my job as a leader of this next team of you and I with Clubany is to understand what makes that feeling happen, help them to peel back the layers as to why that exists in the first place, to find that core, that purpose, that there's something behind that. There's a value, there's a purpose, there's something that makes your daughter like
It's
broccoli
finding alignment.
versus,
It's
right?
finding who you are as a person, like
Your unique
how to be
essence.
your best self, knowing yourself first to be your best self, and find things that aligns to that essence of yourself.
That's what I call the human approach. Will never work. Yes, you can crack a horse whip and get him to run a little bit faster, but eventually that horse is going to throw you off and you're going to be like, fuck you, don't fucking whip me ever again. Like, yes, we won the race, but I don't give a shit. Like, I'm just miserable in this stupid thing. You make me train every day, cramped, you're eating me, giving me shit oats to eat all day long. I just want to go, I'm a free range horse. Like, I just want to be out there with my buddies and jumping over fences and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this horse is like, I'm done with this shit, right?
And that's why people quit all the time, because they don't like their job, and
it's not sustainable. I mean, it's so stupid to even think that we think that this works. Like, it's just not a sustainable methodology to get anybody to do anything for a long period of time. But here's the problem: is the way that the system has been set up is they don't have time. Like, this is my biggest fear of going into this next role is like, I know what we talk about every single day and what we've been doing and why I even chose to do this role. I know we can get great results because we've done it, right? But here's my concern is, will the business give me the time to go do that, right? Like,
I mean, you are bucking the trend. The trend is saying, hey, this is how society works, and we're telling them to go the opposite of the whole trend generations. I mean, everything is trending that way, and people are gonna ridicule you, and they're gonna watch you, and they're going to scrutinize every single thing you do.
For sure. And they should, because they're paying me a lot of money, and that's the way that the business model
But
is set up.
they don't scrutinize the other people. Like, I say somebody lose $1 billion, like, Yahoo CEO or Google CEO or whoever, right? Or Enron, Jeff Skilling or whoever, right? Billions of dollars. Oh yeah, because I did my best. No one scrutinized him. No one scrutinized her. I say, oh, that's the way the economy is. They blame on something else. But you can do 1,000 things right, but because you go against the grain and you do one thing, just a tiny, insignificant thing that is negative, they're gonna say, yeah, you see, I told you, you're gonna fail. Right? But the other guy can do 1,000 wrong. This is what society is, I mean, if we picked up the size where it matters, but because the trend is against you, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a lot of people who's gonna scrutinize you, just gonna ridicule you just because you go against the grain. That's just the way logic works.
I couldn't agree more. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm so convinced that the Clubany model will work someday. Because I know that it's sustainable. I mean, this is why I know that it will work. I mean, we could spend 2.5 years without making a single dime, without even understanding if there's even a single dime on the horizon of what we're trying to do. And I don't care.
That's why it's sustainable, because you don't need anything to push you.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, is that this is our own experiment.
There's no carrots,
being able to
there's
sustain
no carrots, and there's no sticks.
No,
but it's
none
still
at
going.
all.
So it cannot be like either carrot, sticks, and meaning, right? So there's no carrots because we're not getting paid. I mean, no one's gonna fire us. We don't do it. So what else is there? There's only meaningful left, right? There's only meaning left that is in this formula, right? So that's why it's sustainable, because, well, we don't make any money. We spend money. No one's gonna force us to do it, but we did it. But we continue to do it. What can stop? What will stop it? And the only stop it doesn't have the meaningful alignment. That's the only thing. Because if it's meaningful, just like for you play tennis all your life. You go and you pay for a club membership, you play for court fees, and you for the
balls, whatever, the ball machine.
The ball machine. When it costs you a boatload of money, the time you go to different places to watch the match and
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, tons of stuff. You spend a bolo of carrots for the stuff, but you still doing it.
Right.
Actually take out the carrot that you got from your reserve and you actually put it into something that you want. Just like for me, I bought like 10 books today because
I did that 2 days ago. Actually, I went on a spree because I was running out of books. I just finished this book called Clanlands, The Fifth Vital, which is about this guy who was an opioid addict, and it was like his life as a drug addict, and it was really interesting. The Fifth Vital stands for pain is the fifth vital that was identified by American Doctors Association. And then I bought A Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela, his memoir. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, The River of Doubt, which is a book about Teddy Roosevelt traveling down the Amazon River, down to this one tributary that was like a really scary tributary. Wine and War, a book about the French people in World War II saving their best wine from the Germans. This book called The Artist's Journey by Stephen Pressfield. I get joy out of it, and then I get to write about it, which gives me joy, and I get to do stuff with my daughter with this stuff, and then I get to go share these thoughts with you, and then we can have conversations about it and inspire other people, hopefully. I mean, all these things snowball together. There's
but
logic
to other people, this is the problem. People don't
Right.
want to read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but majority of the people don't read.
The majority of people don't learn. I don't know that that's true. I think that they learn in their own way. Like, we're constantly learning. We're learning about Kim Kardashian. We're learning about, Adam Levine
but
having an
the
affair.
thing is,
We're learning
in
about
the
the
book
economy.
Humankind, he was saying a quote that I really agree with. It's like news to your brain is like sugar to your body. And it
awful.
reminds me of the saying, you are what you eat, you
Right.
think what you see and what you read.
What you consume,
Because
yeah,
if you
for sure.
read about the news is all about embellishing a negative.
Right.
You are going to think a negative. And we look at all the people right now in a socialized modern world who enjoy a lot of perks and benefit are depressed.
Right.
They are depressed because I don't know why. Because
They're consuming garbage every day.
they're consuming this kind of garbage.
It's like saying people are fat. They're eating bad shit for them, Like, I mean,
yeah, but I'm saying people have the best standard of living today, like by far 100x than somebody in the 1930 or 1940, right? More people now are depressed than people in the 1920, 1930. And in the 1920, 1930, you're talking about the market crash and all that. People are like, don't have food to eat, and they still have their heads on their shoulders. And these guys over here is like, oh, the economy is down.
Right.
I only have like $1 million. Like, woo-hoo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Somebody brought up like the interest rates were going up. Do you know how much the first loan mortgage on our first home was? They bought it in 1979 or something like that. And I go, no, I have no idea. They're like, it was like 18%. And we were like ecstatic to get an 18% loan at that point in time. And my aunt was at the table and she was like, you know how much my first loan was? And my grandmother was like, she was there and she's lived in the same house since like 19. And she goes, your grandfather and I, we had to borrow $300 from your great grandfather to pay our down payment on our home, because we couldn't afford that. They're like, $300 was a lot of money back then. And I was like, that's insane. I literally spent $800 on that tennis ball machine. And that was what my grandmother and grandfather had to take a loan out for to go buy their first house, that she still lives in to this day. Like, I mean, it's all relative, right?
Because like back in 1983, it was like 18.6%.
Yeah.
Right. That's 18.61%. That's like,
right.
I mean, that's talking about the interest rates that people get for like a standard versus like some people, because right now, let's say the average is like 3%, and the banks are charging the borrowers like 6%. So they probably make double. That means that the 18% back then, some people are getting 18%, some people getting like 20, 21, 20, even 25. Some maybe get 30%.
It's like credit cards,
Yeah.
For a mortgage.
And so it's like people are crying because of the 3%. It's like the Fed said, hey, we had 0% interest for so long, and the banks borrow 0% interest, and they lend to the borrower at 3%, right? 3% is like you're making money. But, if you calculate inflation, you're actually making money by borrowing money. And now they raise it 6%. So now the interest rate on mortgages from the banks to the borrower is 6%.
Right.
It's like 5.75, 6%.
That it was like a year ago.
People say, well, I would kill to have a 6% interest rate.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, my parents' first mortgage was like 18% or something like that.
Mm.
And they were like, we didn't have bad credit. Like we just like that
Yeah.
was just what it was.
But that's
Anyway,
what I'm
all right.
saying is people have a lot of benefits and perks nowadays, but yet they are consuming these toxic and negative information. So learning is not the same thing as just eating, right? Eating anything and arbitrary eating
Yes.
everything
Yes.
isn't good for your health.
Right.
So taking information and learning things arbitrarily isn't good for your brain.
Should be, do people learn? And I would say, without a doubt, yes. It's what are they learning? Because it's like saying, do people eat? Yes, without a doubt, they eat. They eat a lot. You know, they just eat.
But they're
It's
obese,
the,
have
right. Like,
diabetes.
so they're not following any sort of a concentrated learning, right? Like these are,
Mm.
that's the difference. And in my personal opinion is like, that's why I love books. This is why this feeds my creativity, because I can focus on one topic with one person. And like you said, condensing a lifetime's worth of work down into a couple hundred pages of their life story where I can just sit and consume it and learn it, you know.
I mean, you read
And
one book, you're gaining 50, 60 years of experience from somebody. Just basically
right,
just download the information. They actually orchestrate information in a cohesive and logical
right,
manner and hand it to you in 1 to 2 hours. Okay.
right.
And that is, if you can't fathom that concept, right, then don't go any further until you get it. Study that. So when
Yes.
I look at the books and I see the books I like, I buy, buy.
Right. Who cares how long they are? I mean, who gives a shit? The longer the better at that point in time, because then it's like, you know, if it's a good book, I mean, and you're enjoying
Usually, the thing
the
is for
message,
me,
then great.
usually I look for books that's like 10 hours or 20 hours long. I get the unabridged version because
Right.
I want the details. So, yes, there are a lot of books where they introduce a concept and then they give example after example. And for me, if I'm interested in that topic, the example would give me a better understanding as you introduce more examples. So
Right.
I will get the unabridged versions. I mean, abridged is fine. If you like the topic, then I would suggest you go get the unabridged one. Yes,
Right.
like the book Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, right?
Mhm.
Or Influence by Robert Cialdini, right? There is an abridged version and an unabridged version, right?
Right.
So in the abridged version, he just shorten a bunch of examples and kind of his evidence, right? He just
Mhm.
shorten it versus he explained the whole thing. So depending on what kind of topic that you're interested in, if you're interested in something, the more you're exposed to, then that allows your brain to take in and understand
Yes.
it at a deeper level.
Yeah, 100%. I think my final thought on that topic was in that book I just finished. He was comparing his life when he was like a street dealer. He was like a hustler basically when he was in his late teens. And he was like, look, all day long we would try to turn like whatever the currency is in South Africa. Let's just call it a dollar. It was like we would try to turn $1 into like $2. It was like we worked our asses off to trade this $1 for this product to go find this crackhead to do this with this. We would work our butt off every day. Every day we were hustling to turn our $10 into $20 or whatever it was, right? And we did it like every single day, but it was like we were only making $10. He compared that to knowledge on the internet. Like you could read all day long articles on the internet, but that doesn't mean you learn shit. You're going nowhere. It's just a hamster wheel of going nowhere. There's no vision behind it. There's no purpose behind it. There's no whatever. You are literally just at the whim of an algorithm and hustling all day long. And you could say, yeah, I learned all day long. I watch Netflix. I watch documentaries that come up on the History Channel or whatever, or I watch, I mean, YouTube or what, I mean, sure. But like, these are, I'm not saying you can't learn on those things, but like, you have to be focused. You have to navigate through these things and weed out the crap and find the stuff that you want to learn.
Right. That's why this book to
worthless.
me is one of my favorite books because this book is basically a go against the trend that everybody is thinking. Everybody say humans are inherently evil. It's even in the Bible.
Right.
Are inherently evil. But the thing is, this guy say, well, I beg to differ, and here's why. And that's just why I like it because this is something you can learn, right? You can learn
Yeah.
from this. And yeah, fine. Let's go read Hobbes, right? And see if there's any evidence of validity in his argument. But read this book and say, well, why this guy say that, human are kind? And his evidence to me, I agree with. I
Yeah.
agree with the evidence, and because I see some of it as well.
Well, I feel it. I mean, I agree with it. I live it every single, like, I don't look around and go, I'm gonna kill that motherfucker. Like, I go, how can I go help this person? Like, I've never even punched anybody in my life, let alone think about like my home got blown up tomorrow and all my neighbors were we were struggling for food, I would still try to help them.
I don't have any intention to go out there and hurt somebody or
Right.
kill somebody or take advantage of somebody. I know we're out of time.
Yeah, we
I
gotta
really
wrap.
believe the reason why people are really defensive nowadays. Like, so I want to use the word defensive because that's what people are. So when you be defensive, from the other perspective, it looks like you're being evil and negative. But it making the defensive. The reason being defensive because of the trauma and the I guess the betrayal and the scams you encounter. And that scam came from somebody else scammed that person, right? So you know how in software we have a term called technical debt, right? So when you didn't do something right, that debt get rolled forward and it get compounded over it. So basically along like the beginning when some disagreement started, that disagreement was never reconciled. That thing is going to compile and pile on and earning compound interest. So eventually now everybody is become defensive because they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to go out there and like be bad to people, but they want to be defensive because they don't want to get hurt because the debt that they will incur because somebody make a mistake or some kind of miscommunications that get passed on from generation to generation. So now everybody is being very self-aware and self-defense. Should I let this guy cut me in front? Because if he does, then something else can happen to me. It's not about I don't want that person to be cut in front of me. It's just that I don't want to be taken advantage of. And the reason I think is because of that compounding of over the years, over the generations, it compound to this big aura of negativity.
Call it trauma debt, because it does get passed on. Trauma gets passed on from generation to generation for sure. I mean, like look at African Americans. That trauma of slavery still reverberates today. The trauma of child abuse on somebody reverberates, sexual abuse reverberates. It's trauma just continues to drive more trauma down the road.
Yes, it compounds from generation to generation. So there's a big trauma debt that is surrounding us like an aura of negativity, like a dark cloud cover. I learned a lot from TikTok. TikTok is like those algorithms because it will show you the videos that you watch more of.
I get a ton of tennis videos.
Exactly. I get like lessons and tricks and whatever. I mean, I learn a ton and I love it. For me, it's like maybe an hour a day now, just because I would learn a lot because people would distill the things they've learned, like some kind of an aha, right? An aha that they had, right? And they will share it. And because of that, it's really good. I mean, in 1 hour, I could learn a whole lot of stuff.
I actually find value in this platform as well. And I'm just kind of exploring it in general. But I came across this really funny TikTok video of this couple that was in their home. They looked like they're in their mid-30s. They're wearing a mask and they see this guy walking up the driveway. The caption was, what it's like when Californians move to Texas. So this guy's walking up in a cowboy hat and a cowboy shirt on and jeans and boots and whatever. And this couple is like freaking out. They're like, oh my God, who's this guy? Get your phone out, record this. Who's this guy going to our door? So the guy knocks on the door and he's like, howdy. And they're like, what do you want? What do you want? And he's like, oh, I'm just your neighbor, Tim. Just wanted to stop by and say howdy and introduce myself. And they go, why would you do that? And he was like, they're like, he goes, let me guess, you guys are from California. And they go, what gave it away? And he goes, well, I did see your license plate as I was walking up the driveway, but the fact that you're indoors with yourselves and wearing masks in 2022, that's a pretty big giveaway as well. And the fact that you're, freaking out when somebody's coming. Anyway, they go, oh, I'm so sorry. They're like, we're just so used to when people come up on our lawn, they're either trying to rob us, defecate on our lawn or something else, or all the above, And he goes, oh, that's understandable. I'm just here to say, just welcome to the neighborhood. And he starts to walk out and he turns around and he has a little gun on his side. Holster, and they're like, oh my God, he's got a gun. Get your camera out. Call the cops. And the guy goes, whoa. He's like, guys, this is just everybody in Texas has a gun down here. You're going to have to get used to that. The woman goes, God, why am I here? The bugs are so big and the weather's so hot. They're like, let's just go back to California. Anyway, it was just really funny because it was very true. The trauma gets carried on is what I was trying to get at there. Traumatic. When a nice guy is just walking up just to say howdy, good trusty neighbor or something along those lines. And
Southern hospitality went under scrutiny.
Yeah, well, it's because they came from such a shit environment, right? I would be traumatized too if I lived in LA. And I mean, hell, I've gone to San Francisco all the time, and Like, I mean, I'm kind of traumatized from being there. You walk out, there's needles all over the street. There's homeless people that are aggressive anywhere in the district. It smells like shit. There's piss on the streets. There's shit on the streets. Like, you know, it's like what, like, if I lived in that every day, I'd be like this. And I came to like, you know, some other city, I would be like, I'd be on watch. Like, you know, this person's probably some junkie, heroin strung out addict. I mean, it would definitely traumatize me. We got to put a pin on this. Yeah. All right. Well, the question we can leave with you all is, what motivates you more? Carrots, sticks, or meaning or purpose? You know, I guess you can throw that in there as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you're still watching, even though this is a really long one. Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow for part 4.
Part 4. Yep. See ya.